You're watching NewsX and NewsX YouTube. I'm Megha Sharma. We are talking about the unrest that continues to go on for the past 24 weeks in Hong Kong. That is the semi-autonomous country, semi-autonomous island nation, which is of course part of China, the mainland China. Now there is a lot of dispute that is happening between the protesters, the pro-democracy protesters, who have been unrelenting, demanding that they be provided full autonomy from the rule of China. Dictatorial is what they call it. They want complete independence from the Chinese rule, and Chinese on the other hand are trying every single means and ways to bring about a crackdown or to bring about a clampdown on the autonomous city, island city of Hong Kong. Remember, it was back in the 1950s that it was a British colony, Hong Kong, and British finally decided to let go of the entire island city over there, and then the reins of Hong Kong did go to China, but with terms and conditions. There were the judiciary, the police and the executive, they all were provided independent resource over there, vis-a-vis as compared to mainland China, where it was completely a communist rule ever since post Mao Zedong rule that got over back in late 1980s. It was 1989 especially, Tiananmen Square massacre. Big development over there, a bloody history that was made when there were thousands and thousands of protesters back in Beijing who had come out in protest. Again, a student-led protest over there back in 1989. That was 5th of June 1989, when a man who was in fact crossing the streets over there in Beijing in Tiananmen Square, and he had stood in front of that the massive number of troops, the massive number of those tanks that were of course put in by the PLA military over there, and told them very defiantly, saying that if you want you can climb up over me, but I am not going to relent. I am looking, and thousands and thousands of people in Beijing are looking for democracy. They are looking for independence. They are not looking for a dictatorial rule. But that's exactly what happened. All those voices were crushed by China back in the day. This was post the Mao Zedong rule that took place over there. The economy was burgeoning at that point of time, but there was a lot of unrest because of a lot of corruption happening. The social setup had completely changed. There was no decisive head who was ruling the government, who was actually taking charge of the entire country of mainland China, and that's the Republic of China, as a matter of fact. And those protests happened. Thousands and thousands of innocents were killed over there by the PLA military, and a similar situation in fact being played out in Hong Kong this time around. Now Hong Kong has been protesting since June this year, 2019. They have been demanding a number of things. First of all, that Carrie Lam, in fact, go about putting her resignation papers. They won't want Carrie Lam, who is a puppet chief executive of the Chinese military of the Republic of China, that is of course governed by the Communist Party and Xi Jinping. They do not want the rule of Carrie Lam, and in fact Carrie Lam had initially as well gone about expressing her views about going about quitting and resigning from the post, but later on things were resolved between the Chinese military, between the government over there and Carrie Lam, and she has now been told to continue ruling over there. That is going to be of course a shadow rule that is going to be propelled, that is going to be put forth by the Chinese government, by Xi Jinping. It is in favor, it is it is an advantageous position for Xi Jinping over there, because he and his government can control the people of Hong Kong. This is exactly what the people of Hong Kong are protesting. Now today, in fact, a day after those bloody sightings that happened, there were 2 of the protesters brutally hurt, brutally, grievously injured yesterday. What happened in one of the incidents yesterday was unprecedented. At least never happened ever since the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, where thousands were killed. Yesterday, 2 of the protesters were brutally hurt by the military. Now, usually the troops, the Chinese troops that are actually deployed on the streets of Hong Kong, because because they want to end that protester siege that is happening in Hong Kong, in the island city. They have been using pellet guns, they have been using rubber bullets, they have been using water cannons and other such deployments to make these people ensure that they do not cross the line, to ensure that these protests do not escalate, do not take a further violent turn. But yesterday there was a very graphic image of a Chinese policeman pulling out a gun from his holster. This was a busy street in Hong Kong, in the center of Hong Kong city, main island over there. It was a weekday, a Monday evening. People were out and about working, and passers-by were going, and this happens in the middle of the street. He takes out his gun from the holster. He actually points it out to one of the protesters, of course, wearing his scarf over there on his face. That has been the face and image of the protesters who are coming out in large numbers. And he then shoots him, and even as he's taking another person hostage over there in the crowds, yet another pro-democracy protester, he's gone ahead and manhandled him, heckled him, and then puts him and shoves him down the floor. And people over there, bystanders, extremely shocked, extremely aghast by what has happened. And they can't really do anything because it's the Chinese autocracy that is in play over there in China, in Hong Kong. And even though protesters have been coming out in large numbers, 24 weeks now, protests not relenting, protesters not going back on their word. They want those certain demands that they want. They want accountability of the police who have been meting out atrocities against the protesters. They want these actions. So that was one incident that happened that completely unnerved the entire city of Hong Kong, that completely unnerved the international media. They have been coming out and calling out this brutality that is taking place right in the heart of Hong Kong by the Chinese military. The second incident, in fact, was even worse, even more deplorable, even more shocking. And if I'm going to narrate it to you, what happened was there was yet another protester in Hong Kong, in another place. Same thing happens. A few policemen gather from the Chinese military. They are in fact taking these people hostage. They have manhandled him. They have heckled this man, this again a teenage protester. They have in fact then sprinkled inflammable liquid on him, sprayed the inflammable liquid. That's exactly, those are in fact visuals that have been captured on camera, but people have been taking videos. Bystanders over there, the Hong Kong citizens, they are aghast, of course, and these videos were flashed out. These videos were going viral in the social media, on news channels, in print media as well, to bring about the deplorability, the side of heinousness, the side of brutality and assaults that are taking place in Hong Kong, and action must be taken. Why is it that the international community is silent? Why is it that China is not allowing anybody to actually come about, take action, intervene, mediate, and stop these riots that are taking place and stop these police brutalities that are taking place? But question being over here, so that these were two incidents, two big incidents. The Chinese police have not in fact gone about taking a brutal turn, taking a more stringent turn, taking a more violent turn against these protesters. But yesterday, so there were two such incidents. So total number of these grievous injured and possibly deaths going up to 3. So though that was incidents creating angst globally against Xi Jinping, against the Communist Party that is at the helm of affairs in China, in mainland China, and looking every single opportunity to take control of Hong Kong as well. And today, in fact, in the aftermath of what happened yesterday, those brutalities that came to face, the schools have been shut, colleges have been shut. Of course, there has been a blanket ban on protesters wearing those masks on their face. That has been, like I said, the face of the protesters, the face of the demonstrations that have been taking place for weeks and weeks together now. Carrie Lam, in fact, coming out, the puppet chief executive that has been put over there at the helm of affairs in Hong Kong, by Xi Jinping over there. She is, in fact, I'm going to narrate to you exactly verbatim what she has gone on and said. She said, "We'll spare no effort in finding ways and means that could end violence in Hong Kong as soon as possible." And she also went on and said that protesters will not succeed in getting their demands met. So, stern message. She is, of course, towing the Chinese military line. She is, of course, going about saying every single thing what Xi Jinping wants her to say. Her job is at stake otherwise, and her neck is at stake otherwise. And and what basically the protesters are continuing and relenting, and they don't want to succumb to all these violence that is taking place, because if they do it now, then the demands are not going to be met. Then they will have to again get together their people, get together the people who are pro-democracy, get together to actually fight for their rights. And this is an opportune moment, and that's exactly why it is important that the world is made aware of what is happening in Hong Kong right now. So world needs to come together, these international fora need to come together, the UNSC needs to come together and highlight and slam China for that anti-nationalistic stand that it has taken against the citizens of Hong Kong, for actually going about violating human rights over there of the people of Hong Kong. Why are they not being allowed equal rights over there when it is an semi-autonomous economy, semi-autonomous country? So why is it that China continues to be unrelenting in pushing its luck to actually get total control of Hong Kong? So in fact, that's exactly what, and the demands of the people of Hong Kong are very simple. They are not some exorbitant crazy demands that cannot be fulfilled. So number one being, of course, they want Carrie Lam, who is a puppet chief executive of the Xi Jinping government, to be removed from the post. What they also want is that there should be universal suffrage, which means every single citizen must have the right to actually vote and elect their own representative as the chief executive of Hong Kong. And that's why they are in fact pushing for that autonomy. They want somebody who is going to be their leader and not somebody who is going to be following the every women fancy of Xi Jinping and the Communist Party that is in rule in mainland China. Number three, of course, they want action against the police authorities, the policemen who have gone ahead and taken law onto their own hands. They have even gone beyond protecting the law. They have even gone beyond maintaining law and order, and have gone ahead and meted out atrocities against these innocent pro-democracy unarmed protesters. So they want action against these people. And the fourth demand that they are asking is the complete clemency to all the pro-democracy protesters. There have been a number of cases that have been filed in police stations by the Chinese authorities, and what they want is that the protesters should be provided clear-cut clemency. They should be pardoned completely, and that's exactly what they are. So these are not unreasonable demands. This is what they are wagering over here against the Xi Jinping government. It remains to be seen if Xi Jinping is going to come into pressure, and in a bid to make Xi Jinping succumb to this pressure of the mounting protests that are continuing to take place in China. 24 weeks unrelenting protests, that's unprecedented, and in a bid for the protesters not to let go of the steam that they have now gathered, it's now the responsibility, it is now the duty of the international community, of international countries, of the international fora, the likes of UNSC, the likes of WHO, the likes of CRI, and all these organizations coming out and standing against China and the human rights violations that it goes ahead and meets out, not just to the citizens of Hong Kong, but the Muslim minorities and anybody and everybody who is going ahead and raising a voice against China and the kind of behavior it meets out to the people who are actually looking for democracy, who are actually looking for freedom, who are actually looking for independence and their own governance in their own island city.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.